Good evening and welcome to the City of Lamarque City Council Special Agenda of November 21st, 2022. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Lamarque, Texas will conduct a special meeting on November 21st, 2022, beginning at 6 p.m. in the council chambers at 1109 B Bayou Road, Lamarque, Texas, as well as via video conference hosted through Zoom, accordance with section 551.127B of the Texas Local Government Code. Presiding officer and the quorum of the Lamarque City Council intend to be and will physically be present at 1109 B Bayou Road, Lamarque, Texas. This location will be open to the public and the meeting will be broadcast at this location on Channel 16 and via YouTube. The council will meet for the purpose of considering the following agenda. The meeting has been called to order. Kiera, would you give us a roll call, please?
Councilmember District A,
Present.
Councilmember District B,
Present. Oh. Yes, we're both there.
Councilmember District C,
I'm present.
Councilmember District D. Can you give us your location, please?
Casey? Councilwoman McAuliffe? Let's move forward and let the record reflect when she's able to communicate that she would be in attendance.
Yes, sir.
Let's move now to, and I'm present, thank you, Kiera. Let's move now to invocation and pledge. Councilmember Yancey, would you give us our invocation, and Cesar Garcia, would you lead us in our pledge?
Yes, sir.
Father, tonight we come saying thank you for you allowed us to wake up this morning. You gave us the activity of our limbs and we are grateful. We're entering into a season where we can recall the goodness and of your mercy and your favor. We pray for those that may not have a warm place to sleep. We pray, God, we pray for the ones that will provide sleeping bags and shelter for them. We pray for the ones that will prepare meals for those people that don't have families. And we pray, God, that during this week that you will remember us and this city. We pray that you will help us to always be grateful and to be thankful, even for the small things, for family and friends, food and laughter, and protect us in this season. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands
One.
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Citizens participation, comments from the public will be heard at this time.
I'm sorry, Mayor, Councilwoman McAuliffe is here. Can you give
Hey,
us your
Casey.
location, please?
Yes, 4101 Main Street, Lamarque, Texas, 77568.
Thank you.
Thank you, Casey, and welcome. Citizens participation limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments from the public will be heard at this time. Any person with city-related business who is signed up may speak to council, limited to 3 minutes. If you wish to speak, give the mayor or the presiding officer your full legal name, an item where you wish to speak about. Compliance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, the city may not deliberate on comments. Personal attacks will not be allowed, and personnel matters should be addressed to the city manager during normal business hours. Press *6 to mute and unmute yourself if you wish to speak and you're visiting with us via phone. If you're visiting with us on the Zoom platform, a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer, you may press the microphone icon in the lower portion of your screen. If you are standing or attending in person, you may approach the podium to my left and to your right, give the mayor your name, and you will be heard. Kyle, are there any persons online wishing to speak? No. We'll move to those persons in our audience, and the first person is Mr. James Ross. Welcome, Mr. Ross. Name and address as always.
James Ross, 414 Avenue D, Lamarque, Texas, 77568. Just want to talk about the water rates. I've talked about them. I've crunched lots of numbers for a long time. What I really would like y'all to try to get to understand is when you make a base rate at the 1650, and I understand we're supposed to see another one tonight, a different Many of the cities around us have a meter rate. Doesn't go off of the water rate. Hitchcock, Santa Fe, Galveston, all have a meter rate. And then the water rate starts below that. That keeps it so that when you have a water rate and you try to follow the conservation plan by Texas, which is every time you step up, it goes up 50%. It's just based on the water. It's not based off the meter rate. It's just off the water. Understand we can't do some of the things where we know if it's a 3/4 inch meter versus a 2-inch meter at this moment in time, where they have a different meter rate for it. But if you stay with a water rate at a 0 to 2,000 gallons and then step it up that way, your cost per gallon shows just on water, not on your meter. So please separate that so our bills reflect that, and we as a citizen can monitor our water, not the additional cost that comes to it. And that's kind of what this shows.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. David Pennington. Welcome, David. Name and address as always.
David Pennington, 924 Cypress. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I want to speak tonight on you're considering revising the ordinance for appointment to boards and commissions. I think we need to do that. I think we need to look at that very closely. I was recently a member of the Board of Adjustments, and our last 2 meetings we had to cancel because we couldn't get a quorum. And that's hurting our citizens. We have citizens who've been waiting 3 months to get a hearing before the Board of Adjustments, and nothing because we can't get enough people to show up. Now, y'all the ones that appoint these people, and I hope that you're explaining to them the responsibilities they have and the need for them to be present for all these meetings. It used to be, I was hoping to have with me tonight an attendance roster, but I couldn't get one. I went through and I looked through the minutes of the various boards and commissions, and what minutes were posted did not reflect the attendance, even though roll call is an agenda item. It was not reflected in the minutes. I think we need to start doing that. And it wasn't too many years ago that there was another agenda item on boards and commissions: approval or disapproval of excused absences. It was left up to the boards whether they were approved or not. Most of the time they were, sometimes they weren't. Somebody didn't call ahead of time, it was an unexcused. So maybe we need to go back to that and start looking at that. I can remember when I was on the cemetery board, we had a young lady who was pregnant. And it just so happened that at our meeting, she wasn't there because she was in the hospital delivering a baby. And we kind of tossed that around if that was going to be an excused absence. I mean, we had the fire department right next door here. Of course we excused her, but we had a little good-natured fun in the process. But I really think you need to consider this. The other thing is, I think you need to allow people to serve on one board and commission. I think you're restricting yourselves too much by having just a person serve on only one board. There are people in this town who have the time to devote to it and are willing to serve on more than one board or commission. And I think you need to consider changing that. Because if you're appointing people in name only, because they're not showing up, it's not doing anybody a bit of good. So, thank you.
Thank you, David. Move on now to presentations. Item 5.1 says that there is a mayor recap of the past 16 months. I hope to make only a few brief remarks for this community, and then to put this to bed as we move forward the business of the city. Certainly, we have been through an ordeal for the past 16 months of our city. we've had in the past year 2 unscheduled elections, 3 recall petitions, and much turmoil and dissension within our community. And it's hurt a lot of people. It's hurt people on both sides. Friendships have been damaged, relationships have been destroyed. And members of this community who once worked with and respected each other, a lot of those perceptions of one another have faded. There is no winner in situations like this. The community suffers. There's no way for us to move forward if, in fact, we were to continue along this path. But we know that there is hope today. We understand that we have had an election and that the people have spoken. Sometimes in community, there are issues and fights that are so passionate and heated between members of community that it takes the entire community to decide to move forward. That's what happened in our tax rollback election, where we had 2 sides passionately arguing their points and their perspectives. It took the community to decide, and we decided. That's what it'll take tonight. 2 sides passionately argued their side. The community decided. It's time for us to move forward. I can tell you that those of us that serve on this council, and I've been here for going on 19 years now, we are not career politicians. We're career volunteers. I, for one, have volunteered on this council for 19 years. And I was a softball coach, a football coach. I volunteered on various boards and commissions. I'm a career volunteer. And many of my colleagues on this council are career volunteers as well. And I think that we understand and know that we will be disagreed with, we will be opposed, we'll be challenged, and we'll be tested for what we think and for how we vote. But I don't think that it's fair for our family members to be collateral damage. I don't think that it's fair for community members to be collateral damage, or for any one of us to live in fear in any way. We've had an election and it's time to move forward. I, for one, am focusing on the positive. And what we've done while we have been in this discussion is street work has started. Bayou Road is being repaired. First Street, our downtown area is being revitalized. Edgar Street, and other streets to come. We started repairing our infrastructure with $48 million set to be available to us January 1st of this coming year to vastly improve our sewer system. ARPA funds and other monies, grant monies, being dedicated to our water line system over in the eastern portion of our city. Crime has been down in the course of these last 16 months. We lost an investor in the dog track property. We found another, and we're moving forward with one of the greatest economic development endeavors this city has ever seen. Amazon is continuing to employ. Many, many other things have happened positively in our city. The west side of our city continues to grow by leaps and bounds. And that's the discussion. That's Lamarque moving forward. We ought to rally around those things as a community that move us forward. We won't agree on everything, but we will agree on some things. All of us want to drive down streets that are safe. All of us want the best police officer in the state of Texas to show up at our door when we call them. We all want the best paramedic to show up when our mother is in trouble. All of us want to flush our toilets and make sure that our sewer system is working. There are things that we have in common that we all can agree on. I'm encouraging us as a community to move forward with the things that we just outlined that are positive in our community and the challenges that we just outlined that affect us all. And so I'm asking you, as I accept the opportunity to continue to be your mayor, I'm asking for two things. The first thing that I'm asking us to do is, if we are in support of me as your mayor, please let's refrain from making any personal attacks on anybody in this city, city staff, community members, any person. If you're in support of this mayor, then we refrain from making any personal attacks. We tell the truth about city business. We leave the rest of it for somebody else. The second thing that I'm asking you for is to allow not only me, but to allow the family members of our council members and staff members and key persons in our community, allow us to have a personal life. It is unfair to attack our families. It's unfair to use our personal issues or our personal experiences to cause trouble for us because of some political argument. That is unfair. And so I thank you again for the opportunity to serve you. Those of you that voted for me, I appreciate you. And I thank you for your support. Those of you that voted for the recall, again, I apologize to you if I have not made my positions clear, if I have not heard you, if I have not attempted to understand you better, or even communicate with you in a way that you would understand me better. My goal for this next year is to meet as many of you as I possibly can, that I might understand your issues so that I can represent this city better, because we're better when we're moving forward together. Council, thank you for these past 16 months. Staff members who have had to work through these processes, thank you as well. I would rather not speak about this anymore in this venue, on this platform as mayor, because it's time for the city to move forward. Item 6. Ordinance number letter O -2022-0018, amending Appendix A, Schedule of Fees and Charges of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lamarque, Texas, by amending prescribed water and sewer rates. This item was tabled from November 14th. Mr. Garcia, do you have any updates?
Yes, sir. The item presented before you was at the direction of where we last held it. We said that we would table the original scope of it and bring it back to you to present only half of the percentage increase that we suggested previously, with the intent of addressing the other second half potentially in the next year at the next budget cycle. Would be the soonest that we would, entertain that idea. So what's set forward before you tonight is part of that in this ordinance. We've adhered, and actually we're slightly below that 50%. We adhered to that with the understanding that we would be cognizant of the fact that we're still going to be slightly under where we wanted to be, but also understanding that this is the first step we need to make to bring forward the progress that we need to get close to break even.
Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Garcia? Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. For clarity purposes, you said that this ordinance where you've indicated the 1650 for the first 1,000 gallons, right?
Right, but we
That-
actually
that-
have an amended amount before you tonight.
The amended amount.
The amount that you requested, the 50%.
The 50% that was requested at the last meeting.
What's this? That's this page.
No, that's not.
That's not
that.
this?
Mm-mm.
I don't have that in my packet.
I don't see what you're talking about, then I'm sorry. What I have.
They've been in everybody's packets. That doesn't seem like it's the right copy. Hold on. Gus, do you have a correct copy by chance? If we could try to grab here. It looks like the one that's on there is not. Looks like the link is not working properly.
Yeah, well, that's my first question was
Certainly.
clarity, says.
Certainly,
I was confused on the numbers.
I could see why, no problem.
Hey, Mayor, may I recommend that we, while we work on the technical issues, move on, so that way we can push
We can do
forward.
that. Any objection to that? Casey, you go okay? All right, let's skip over this item. We can come back. Thank you, Michael, for that.
Yes, sir.
Let's move to, I guess we're at 6.2 now. Ordinance number letter O -2022 -0019, amending Appendix A Schedule of Fees and Charges of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lamarck, Texas, by amending prescribed solid waste charges. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, sir. Originally, this line item was set to see an increase. I would have taken it from the $23.91 that we currently charge. It would have jumped up to 26 at the request of us going only 50% at this time. The ordinance that's in front of you represents $24.96, which is exactly the halfway point between the two. We took that in credence to what was recommended. So the increase is roughly $1.04 for sanitation.
So I guess my question is this. That $24.96 represents not the full increase,
No, sir.
but the 50% increase.
50%. It was gonna originally go from $23.91 to 26. And we have split that difference of the increase of what would have been $2.09 and essentially made it $1.04 at this time. Bringing us to, $1.05, bringing us to $24.96 at this time.
Any other questions?
Go
ahead, Jeff.
So just to be clear then, Cesar, as we're waiting for the other one. What you did was with the water, with the sewer, and with the garbage, you presented as just basically half of the proposed increase.
Yes, sir.
But I don't see it in here in this ordinance,
Certainly.
the language that says in the second year, there would be then the additional adjustment.
The
So-
additional, what we originally discussed, which was a
Exactly,
3%.
year one, year two.
Certainly,
So that's lacking in this.
certainly.
And then there's also lacking in both of them, the language with regard to, and this one, I leave it in your capable hands, you and Gus, that we know under this 10-year plan that we're hoping to have lend some financial planning to this process, is that we know that we have costs that we incur yearly, period. We know that. My Starbucks coffee is going to cost more next month, whatever the case may be, whatever we're doing. And then we had incorporated a 3% increase in your calculation.
A
And
minimum. of
that's
3%
that's also lacking
Certainly,
in these ordinances, language to that effect.
certainly.
Okay, so that's point number one. Number two, this part, you included that 2018 water study from the, was it Argue Consultants or Engineering Company?
ARK, yes, sir.
Okay. And this is just a comment as I reviewed that. I'm not lending a lot of credibility to that study, truthfully. Maybe on the water leak side, yes. But when I start looking at what they listed as the population, and I printed it out, but they had for the year 2017, no, but year 2027, that our population would be approximately 19,266.
By which year, Mayor Pro Tem? I'm sorry.
It said 2027
Mhm.
is what it said. But then in that 2018 study, they also, I don't know, they listed a 10-year period of time. Once again, I'm sorry, I printed it out and I can't find it now. They also indicated that, understand our 2020 census put our population at 18,734. That's our 2020. And it's even increased since that time under the communities from the Census Bureau.
Mhm.
But I question the statistics that were included in that study. And but it's information that they could have gotten. And basically, the last census said that Lamarque is growing annually it grew annually at basically 2% per year, 2%. And that and since the 2010, if you bring in the 2010 census, our growth has been basically 3.90%. And so the numbers that were listed as the bases for the study, in my opinion, are faulty. So I'm just pointing that out.
And
that has nothing to do with the rates, by the way.
no, I understand that. And
Nothing to do with the
I think
rate.
further to that point, historically, and again, a lot of us weren't together then. One would argue it's growing faster than originally projected back in the 2016 or 2018 when the study took place. So we are definitely growing faster.
And my last comment in this area, because this is just the first part of the plan. Second part, we still have to work on in terms of how do we repair and come up with a program that will repair the rest of our water leaks in the rest of the zones, correct? Am I accurate in saying that?
Yes, sir. So what
Okay,
we've done
so
is
that's still work that needs to be done. We've discussed it in the focus groups and you've been very helpful and the other consultant in that regard. But here's just one comment as I took time to read over all the information. I'm of the opinion that as we grow, and we make these repairs in Zone 7 on I call it the original settlement site of Lamarque,
Mhm.
that we need to protect our residents in that part of Lamarck so that they are not incurring the cost that may be associated with the growth on the west side. And I've seen that in other cities in their enterprise fund. City of Fort Worth has language to that effect. I sent you something as well today from another city. So that's something that also is a viewpoint of mine. If it makes any sense to everybody else.
Certainly. If I may, the item that is on the table now, one of the questions you asked was regarding the projected increase per year. In section 2, which is on page 2 of that document, is where it shows specifically on the solid waste ordinance. You look at page 2, page 3, beginning top line, section 2 is where it shows the increase where we put in 3.5%. I will yield to Gus on this because he's got some information as to the reason why tonight, we would like to drop that to 3% and potentially bring back a 3.5 at the next meeting. Gus, could you chime in on that?
Sure. The city of Lamarck is party to a waste services agreement or waste collection agreement with Waste Management. That agreement sets out the costs and the prices for things with a 3% increase per year. There are procedures in that agreement for the city of Lamarck to increase what it bills to cover services associated with that. But there are notice procedures that we have to follow. And we need to meet with Waste Management first. Before on that 0.5%.
So what we'd like to do is bring this item to you tonight, instead of 3.5, leave it at 3. And if need be, if we have that adjustment available at the second reading, if not, go with the 3% to fall in line with our increase in sanitation per contract that we have through our renewals, if they stay true through 2030.
How many customers do we have?
Waste Management customers, roughly one residential, commercial, or both combined?
Residential and then commercial.
I know Nisha's here in the corner, sorry. I don't want to speak out of turn, roughly 400 commercial accounts, 401 if I'm not mistaken. And 5,733 R1 deemed folks.
Okay, so you base this increase on those numbers of accounts,
Yes, sir.
and we're facing an increase because
our shortfall was there. We were charging $23.91, if I'm not mistaken, prior. And subsequently over the years, as part of our agreement with Waste Management that was signed back in 2014, if not mistaken. 2017. Thank you, Gus. There was every year, there would be a 3% increase. And the increase was met by the city 1 year, but it wasn't after that.
right. I get that part. I guess what I'm leading into is a deeper question about the numbers. Because it's important when we are speaking about increasing rates, people's rates, it's important that we get the numbers accurate. And you all have worked really hard on the rates and those numbers. But I think there may be a discrepancy in the amount of accounts that we have. And so the amount of accounts that you just described for me is about 6,100.
Give or take, roughly, from R1 accounts and commercial only. That doesn't include how many other zoned accounts we have. I don't know the other off top hand. We've got so many other accounts, total units, commercial and or. Now, also on the sanitation side, the rate that we're bringing to you as far as the difference right now is only covering the residential side, because the commercial sides are different. Some of them have 1 can, 2 can, different size cans and different rates.
But the accounts are the same, essentially. An account is an account.
Certainly, yes, sir.
So then the reason I'm questioning this in this just part of our discussion is because as I look at the utility billing statistics for fiscal years 2021 and 2022, 2021 versus 2022, it looks like, according to this documentation, that we have anywhere between 8,200 and 8,400 accounts. And I think these are our own numbers. It says billed usage and billed $ number of accounts. And fiscal year 2021, it says that we had 8,286 accounts. Fiscal year 2022, it says that we have 8,474 accounts. And the question is, which number are we basing the individual rate increase on? And if we're basing it on the 6,000 account number, where did we get the 82 or the 8,400 account number? It looks like that's generated from our system somehow. So there's a discrepancy of over 2,000 accounts. And again, the only reason that's important is because we're trying to spread this wealth, right? We know we need an increase, but we need to make sure that everybody's paying their fair share.
Absolutely. And in regards to that, on the sanitation side, we didn't take it by number of accounts. Instead, we took it what we're charged by residential account. So whether it's 100, 1,000, the rate per home, per pickup that we are charging residents versus what we are being charged a higher rate than what we are charging our residents.
Right.
So on a per home account, for example, in that case, it's simply a pass-through.
Right.
Dollars come to us, we pay it straight to our actual sanitation department. Thus why Gus made the mention of a franchise fee. Anything that goes above and beyond that would be considered as such. So that becomes a pass-through.
Right.
And that's where that number came from. Now, as far as the water side, there are other accounts. I mean, we could go into huge extent. The large majority of our accounts in the city for residents on the residential rate, the majority of them are R1 accounts, as been expressed to me by staff that have come forward and expressed those numbers and figures that were shared to prepare this presentation.
Very good. I have to unfortunately stand on my question.
Sir.
One of the documentation that we have before us, or we've had before us, says that we have 6,100 accounts. But then there's other documentation that says we have between 82 and 8,400. And again, it's not a big deal other than we need to get this calculation right. I'm not trying to in any way do anything other than make sure that we're getting our calculation right. Because if we get this wrong and we raise people's rates, then they're going to be upset at not only us, but at all of us. So it's important that we get the right number, is all I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, could I ask you that chart you're looking at, that was in part of, I saw it too. That's part of the information Susie presented in her
right.
report.
Right.
I did see that discrepancy.
Right.
I think so.
And for the record, we received the same numbers from staff that were used to report the other stuff. So I will follow up on that.
So could I ask you a question? Could I ask him one more question, Mike?
Yes, sir.
So then the number, and I'm just curious, as we try to figure this out, the number that Waterworth received, the 5733, and then the 407, those numbers didn't come from Susie?
They did. They came from staff.
Okay. And so, but then these other numbers also came from Susie?
Yes, sir.
And, okay. Michael.
Mayor, I was going to say, I think the reason why some of the numbers may be wrong or may be different is Omega Bay does not get water from us. So I don't know if those numbers are included, but Omega Bay gets their water off of Mud 12. So, I mean, they get charged for the waste management, but they don't get charged for our water rates. So that could possibly be a reason for the difference in numbers.
Do you think, Michael, that would be 2,000, over 2,000 difference in just?
They've got approximately 2,000 residents down there. As far as homes go, they're just under,
200,
are they 200?
I believe. It's
Okay.
no more than 280.
So that'd be only 200 accounts,
Correct.
not 2,000.
Okay.
Again, I don't want to be here forever, but we have to have accurate numbers. I think that, and I'm only one person. Council, we have Kim, Joe, Michael, Casey. What do y'all think?
I agree.
That's a Susie question. Can we get her on the phone and get someone to get that?
She's
clarified?
saying two.
She's what?
She's not available right now.
Okay.
She's not available.
I agree with you, Mayor. We need accurate numbers. We've been preaching that since day one, that we stepped on council. I mean, accuracy is everything.
Yeah. You guys have done a tremendous amount of work, and you've brought us farther than we have come before in this water discussion. We have to make sure that we get it right, though. We have to get it right. This is too big of an issue in our community to not move forward with accurate numbers and to not be confident. You all have done a lot of work. I applaud you for your work. We just have to make sure we're doing it right. Council, we can't be here forever. Shall we table? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
and I actually do have just one quick question. RV parks, are they included under commercial or residential? It wasn't clear to me.
Ms. Venetia, if you could please step to the podium.
They're listed under commercial.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, you had to walk to the podium so you could say.
Right. First
That's
time.
great. Thank you.
All right, council, this is 6-2. We can entertain a motion to approve, to disapprove, or to table. It's your pleasure.
I'd like to make a motion to table once more until we get the accurate numbers.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of table, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Are we ready to pick up 6-1 since it's probably going to be the same conversation?
Yes, we are. I would like to go. I would like to talk about it.
All right. Kiara said, hold on just a second. So we're
Okay.
waiting a little bit, Casey. Let's move forward with the discussion. While Kiara works feverishly to get us more information, what is clear, council, is we're using the same numbers. And there's the same discrepancy for 6,100 accounts in one plan, and between 82 and 8,400 accounts in another statistic. And so again, here we are. Is there anything to add to this discussion?
If we're running the same issue, I mean, no sense going through the motions. We might as well just table it till we get the right numbers. That way it saves staff from having to move stuff over and just save some time that way.
Very good.
So I'd like to make a motion to table.
Hold on just a minute. Does anybody, hold on, motion, Michael.
Yes,
Does
sir.
anybody have any questions about this other than the numbers that was presented? Gus,
Yes, Mayor.
Have you read through this ordinance? Apparently you prepared it. Is that correct?
The original one I did, yes. The updated numbers. Were based on what I was given.
Are there any issues with this ordinance that you'd like to share with council? Any concerns you might have?
Are there, I'm not aware of any specific ones. Is there one that you have a concern with?
I do not.
I mean,
If I could, Mayor.
Go ahead, Mike.
First, I'd like to retract my motion since we're still discussing it.
Thank you, Michael.
The other thing is, I know Mayor Pro Tem talked about in the ordinance, there was nothing about that this is a 25%, and then we're gonna go back and relook at it the following year. The solid waste has that verbiage in there, but this one does not, so. I don't know if we need that in there, if we could amend it to put it in there once it passes, because that way,
so council is free to pass the ordinance as it sees fit in its discretion. If council wants to build in annual reviews, it's of course free to do that. Of course, any subsequent council could change its mind essentially and pass an ordinance rescinding that. The reason the solid waste one was different, I believe, is that waste, there's a separate contract with built-in raises that we know what they are going to be, without getting too far into the weeds because it's very far into there. The water rates, there's more that goes into that calculation and what the city pays for water. There's more than just a line item or a sentence in a contract that says it goes up 3% a year. There's tons of meeting. There's a lot. So it would be harder for the city to, or for city staff to craft an ordinance with automatic increases unless it starts at a level below what we anticipate the city will be paying. Does that make sense? I can take a better, should I take a better shot at that? The waste management, it goes up 3% a year. It's in the contract. So that's why solid waste is covered by that. The Gulf Coast Water Authority, what they charge us for water, there is a lot of calculations and math that goes on to get to that number. So we don't know what percentage it will go up or down a year. We will know that, but we don't know that today. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Clear as mud.
Yeah, I just want to make sure so we don't have an issue with this, like the solid waste contract.
Right.
We're okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, water rates are revisited on a regular rate, are revisited because of cost, but.
Okay.
right, but if we have a contract already signed, we know what those rates are for that.
For the water authority? No, so there is a lot of, we do have a contract with the Gulf Coast Water Authority. We absolutely do. But there are a lot of different elements that go into what our rate is. There's a cost for water, there's an operation maintenance element. And some of those elements are based on how much the water authority actually expended the prior year for maintenance. And we don't know that today. The water authority is a governmental entity, so it is by essence nonprofit. They're not shouldn't be, but so while yes, we absolutely have a contract with the water authority that provides us with a set amount of water, all it does is set out a formula for the rate. It doesn't actually set out the rate itself.
Okay.
And historically, to our understanding, the rate has never gone down.
Okay. You want to table?
Yes, sir. If there's no other questions,
Anybody else have any questions?
I would make a motion that we table this. one more time until we get the right numbers.
There's a motion. Is there a tape? Is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem Company, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
My apologies, I'm interrupting. But I have to go and relieve my childcare of my child and switch over at 7. And I have a request, because I know it's clear that this is gonna go a little bit past 7, but I have an appointment that I would like to make. Is there a chance that we could hop to the appointment section and come
Yes,
back?
ma'am. I'll do that for you. Let's move very quickly to 8 appointments. Go ahead, Casey.
I would like to appoint Miss Mary Limones to the Parks Board. I think she is definitely in the spirit of the late and beloved Coach Walker, and I know that lots of folks have had a really good experience with her, and she was a recommendation from Mr. Michael Rockbach, and I'm very thrilled to appoint her.
Very good. It's a second set nomination.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Move back now to item 7. Resolution. 7-1, resolution number letter R-2022-0099, authorizing an application to the Game Time Parks Grant for playground equipment as recommended by the Parks Board. Mr. Garcia.
Certainly, this is a grant opportunity that's come before us. Some companies call it a grant program, others call it a discount program. Essentially, roughly $28,000 has been awarded to the city as part of this application. Since there was still a purchasing component tied to it, we still need to go out and get the 3 quotes. Today, the item is being brought before you with the 3 quotes. And I'll entertain any questions you have at this time.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Garcia?
Yes, sir, I do.
Go ahead, Joe.
This time, I'm confused. Does anybody? I don't see anybody from the Parks Board here. When this was discussed at the Parks Board at our last meeting, I believe you were there.
I believe I was there with this one.
It was talked about as being $100,000 quote grant, of which it was going to be brought to council for us to meet the what's the term I'm looking for? My mind's just totally gone.
Well, the threshold for whatever the match would be. I'm
Well,
sure.
a match, there was a match that was necessary for the 100,000.
Mhm.
And as I was reading this, so this doesn't even seem like it's the same grant that was described. So we're going to accept a grant for $20,000 or 25, the amount you just mentioned, but we're going to have to spend nearly 100,000 for delivery and installation costs associated with the 25,000. It's actually flipped.
So
Is that accurate?
to answer your question, yes. Looks like the equipment itself, only the equipment, is valued at roughly $71,516, at which $28,070.66 is matched, and it's reducing the cost to $43,000. But as part of that, there's also a installation. Well, there's obviously shipping and then installation fee that goes with it. I see our public works director has approached the podium should any additional questions arise, but that is a summary response to your questions.
And this is just an extension at the TML conference, and I believe I brought you over, grabbed you, and said, let me come over and meet these folks that were also providing park services or park equipment.
Mhm.
And I recall in that conversation, I asked if we purchase something, does that mean delivered and installed? And their response was yes.
Yes, it is part of the quote. Very rarely do folks qualify for full up to the $100,000. They're very key in the fine print to put up to $100,000. These grants are very common through a lot of the major playground companies nationally. And what ends up happening is they provide you, in a sense, a grant in lieu of, as far as a discount when purchase is made, to include shipping and install. Ray, did you have anything else on that note?
The grant specifications was, it was 100% grant up to that dollar amount, but it was only on equipment. it didn't include installation, so that $99,000 that's in the agenda item is shipping and installation. And they did have there's a material surcharge in there too.
A material surcharge?
That would be for materials needed to install, so cement. any
So
hardware,
what
software.
we're really saying is that we're gonna take, or we're proposing, first we're saying, let's now take $100,000 from the park fund, correct? Because this would come from the park fund, of which we'd have a balance of about 300,000, as I recall, thereabouts.
Roughly.
And purchase equipment associated with this. And you said we had two other grants or two other quotes in here.
Certainly, because there was a purchasing threshold that came available as a result of this opportunity that I believe a council member brought forward to the Parks Board, like for their initial review. There is a purchasing component, which means our purchasing procedures fall into compliance. And we needed to make sure we obtained 3 quotes for similar, if not the same equipment. Obviously, when it's manufactured by a certain company, it's hard to get the same exact equipment, but we looked at very, very similar equipment. when we
And so
presented.
there were these other quotes, and I only looked at them because it was so long in this,
Certainly,
the 200 and something pages, so I wasn't able to look
it's a
at
very
the other
long
two.
package.
It was a long, and but I don't recall seeing a separate component. It was a quote, basically for around the 100,000 in equipment.
Correct. This vendor, after the grant, ended up being the lowest costing vendor to provide similar services, if that makes sense.
So the other 2 quotes, there would be an additional component for installation and delivery.
No, that was included in the quote.
That's what I thought was included in the quote.
Had it not been for this grant, then the currently selected vendor may have.
So
would not
bottom
be-
line, is this the best purchase for our dollars? That's, I guess, fundamentally based upon.
Mayor Pro Tem, I will answer that in the fact that it's relative. The fact that the purpose of the grant dollars or the dollars that were set aside as part of this park fund were to address park needs and to bring forward playground equipment. Yes, in that sense, then yes, this does meet that threshold. It does so much faster. You are getting a $28,000 value or increment as far as that's concerned. And it does get it done much more promptly. Does it qualify and check all those? Yes. Is it the lowest responding bidders thus far? Yes. So it does check off all the boxes to answer that response. I will say that it's also relative. We could go out and search other opportunities, but as we've had with certain grants, we may not receive funding, as has happened recently with some other opportunities that we've gone after. So to answer your response, or to answer your question, it is relative in that sense.
Okay, well,
Let me ask you this, as we just expand this discussion. So we're proposing, we as an administration is proposing taking $100,000 out of the Parks Fund that we've built up to leverage grant funding.
Yes, sir. Since that essentially it does qualify, that is the recommendation being made by the Parks Board
Because of the grant funding being involved.
because of the grant funding involved. No different than the dollars that have been set aside for the Mahan boat ramp or the other Mahan Parks grant that we've submitted for.
But then the issue, which I'm not on either side of the issue, I'm just trying to understand it. The issue then becomes that we spent at least $50,000 developing a master parks plan. Right?
Yes, sir.
So that we can potentially have our entire park system redone.
Yes, sir.
And the cost of that was in the upwards of in tens of millions of dollars, correct?
12 million.
$12 million.
And, we did get in a recent quote, and the park equipment that we offered, it's all different. So it's very hard to do apples to apples. We did get in one quote from Playcore, which is game time equipment also, and their bid came in at 116,000, basically against the Cunningham bid, which was 99. So to set, these three parks up with playground equipment that was looked at and approved by the Parks Board or recommended by the Parks Board is about $100,000 to get them installed. One company, Lone Star, sent me a recent quote, and it's about $150,000 for their equipment.
Is that playground equipment, is the playground equipment being considered also found in the master parks plan?
Yes.
Yes, sir. The recommendations being made do fall in line with the Parks Master Plan.
For example, one of the parks is West Lawn. Right now, we have a swing set there. That's it. So that's where one of the larger pieces is planning on going. At JC Park, we're planning on removing one of the deteriorated pieces of equipment, installing, and this is all new composite playground equipment, similar to what's over at Martin Luther King a little bit. It's not steel stuff, it's a new composite type of, and that's what everybody's selling out there from what I've seen. The designs are a little bit different, slides on this side, double slides, everything's a little bit different between the manufacturers. So there's certainly other choices out there, but it appears based on our research that in order to get playground equipment in at these parks is $100,000 to $150,000. And what Game Time originally offered us was this discount or this grant, which is about 40%. It's not 100% match. One of the caveats they had with the 100% match was upfront payment. In small print.
Which we as a city would just never do. That's not part of our
So that was a
procurement policy.
requirement for their 100% match.
Well, I remember this because I brought it right. I'm sorry. You're gonna throw me-
We've been working on
throw
this
the
for a
shoe
while.
at
Parks
me.
Board's been very
Right.
excited about it.
Because I was excited when I saw it was another community that received it.
Right.
But now that to delve into it, I don't want to. I want us to proceed and develop, right? I just think I'm bringing out this point that for clarity purposes, and Mary, you may remember this, and when we used to be in community action, you had companies that would, for the Head Start program that said, oh, we're going to throw in X amount. And this is the same deal, basically.
Yeah.
It's not, I thought, that's what I immediately thought of. Wait, I've come across this before as I started looking at the revised numbers.
I think though, so long as it's within the master parks plan, I think that our community members probably would like to see
There'd be
improvements.
improvements. There's
When
no
you
doubt
get
about it.
new things, you have improvements. I think it gets community positive vibes. So long as it's within the plan. Now, if these were things that were being just chosen that were outside of the plan, then we wouldn't be in line or in course.
It's in the plan. I can tell you when we were out at Westlawn, Mr. Bach was out there and he was looking at an area that was based on the plan set. And I said, so you understand, it doesn't actually have to go here. It could go here. I mean, because when they did the plan, it wasn't that specific. It was like, install playground equipment, install picnic benches. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's the equipment is in there, and then one of them is equipment for the other park with Bayou Park. So it's certainly an improvement at the parks. When we looked at it, we thought the same thing. It wasn't quite the deal it sounded like at first, but through our research, it's a reasonable deal.
It's reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Without the grant, if you told us we had opportunity of getting 3 new playground sets purchased, delivered, and installed at the price that we're doing that, it is my professional opinion, that's a pretty decent deal. However, I wanted the clarity to be out there that there is some caveats of these playground grants.
Well, I'll move that we approve it. Unless there's other discussion.
Any other discussion before we?
Well, only thing that troubles me is the amount of the install that's going to come out of the park fund is equivalent, if not a little bit more than the equipment. If I read it right.
Right.
That would be true after the grant. The equipment's $71,000. So if you bought the equipment straight up from Game Time and had it installed, it would be more. So right now, the bid from Cunningham, who's the installer and the manufacturer's rep, they're out of Houston, is the $99,000. That's because they're taking $28,000 off that $71,000 in equipment. So the equipment's costing 40. You're correct. It's costing another 40 to get it installed.
And that's for the most part in line of what your typical install cost. It's extremely expensive to get it done right.
And it's professionally installed. The city's not installing that stuff. It's certified. I mean, these guys are making sure it's by specs. Have approval on it.
That's the only question I had was that, because like it was brought up, they only have 300,000. I mean, that's a third of their money.
Yeah.
So,
But the whole point of the money is
It's-
to
but
It's-
Right now, the money's just sitting there
Right.
doing nothing and. this is
right, that's
putting
the
it to
whole
use.
point.
Yes,
Because I was on Keep Mark Beautiful when that
Right.
park fee came, and it's nice to see that we're just not talking about it, but we're actually making things manifest, because I was very much so involved on that particular board. But because Bayou Park is a hot mess, and it's right on a major road. And now that we've got that road fixed, and those of us that are paying attention to that area, there was a lot of dope dealing at that park because it's not the best looking park, right? And so part of that is cosmetically, we need to do something to that park. And that's what because I've been to the park board meetings where there's a lot of contention about how to do it, when you do it. So I was very excited to see that we were finally moving in an area where the residents have that we can say to the residents, this is where your money is going to, and this is what we've done with those funds. So when people see that you are making things beautiful for your city, then they're not that they trust us to do that. But then this is by your park, right? Am I talking about the right
Yes,
park?
yes,
Right,
ma'am.
okay. And that park has needed some improvement for years, and we've tried to paint over the issue, but getting new equipment would make a huge difference over there. So
There
thank
happens to be some retro or some very old game time equipment in that park that the gentleman from Cunningham pointed that out when he came out.
Right, I just can't wait till y'all get to District A. We'll get there one day.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is about $250,000 value
Mhm.
between the install and the equipment being donated to our parks.
Probably less than that, Mayor, probably closer to 140-ish. That we're paying. Or 130-ish that we're paying less than 100 for.
Yeah, because we're getting 28,000 off of what the total, without the grant, it'd be $28,000 more.
Gotcha,
Basically.
gotcha. Any other questions?
no question, just a comment that, I mean, I
Go
think
ahead, Mike.
the number still drives me crazy, but it went through the Parks Board. We need to back our boards, support our boards,
Yeah.
so.
They're excited. I will tell you.
So, I mean, I don't want people out there thinking I'm negative Nancy about it, but it did go through our boards, and as a council and the mayor, we need to support our boards. That's why they're there.
And Mayor, if I may, this recommendation was made through the Parks Board, and the planning for it was made in lockstep with them. So we are bringing something that they've thoroughly reviewed, and kudos to them for being as thorough as they were, because they were very selective in the process.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion. In a second,
Second.
any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7.2, resolution number letter R-2022-0100, declaring the results of the Lamarque mayoral recall election held for any by the Galveston County Elections Division on November 8th, 2022, the canvass of the votes pursuant to the Texas Election Code. What is that supposed to say? It says held for any by. Held for, I'm sorry, held for and by the Galveston County Elections Division on November 8th, 2022, the canvass of the votes pursuant to the Texas Election Code. Gus, do you want me to give this over to Mayor Pro Tem, or do you think we can proceed?
You can give it over to the Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, we're gonna turn this item over to the Mayor Pro Tem to preside.
It's the canvassing of the
This
election.
canvas.
All right, well, it's just a canvas.
I've already read it, Joe. You.
Oh, all right. So I'll take a motion to
Yeah.
accept the canvassing.
So moved.
A second,
Second.
Motion made, seconded to accept the results of the Lamarck mayoral recall election. Without any further discussion, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? None pass. Back
Thank
to you,
you.
sir.
Thank you. 7.3, resolution number letter R 2022 00, excuse me, -0101. Authorizing an advanced funding agreement between the city of Lamarck, Texas and the Texas Department of Transportation. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, sir. I know Rick has been working hard on this item. As you're aware, we have received a opportunity from TxDOT to get new sidewalks on Main Street. That'll take us from 45 all the way to say Highway 3. As part of that, one thing we said we would do as far as moving forward is any repairs to any infrastructure that we have that would fall in line with any of this new infrastructure. We would try to address it prior to. We'd have to go in and tear up these items, hopefully for the foreseeable future. That being said, this item is being brought before you, and we'll answer any questions as to this item in particular, as I see Rick approaching.
Council, do we have any questions for administration on item 7.3? Item 7.3.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mike.
Do we have any infrastructure repairs that we know of that's gonna impede with this? That we need to get done before? We do, okay,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Rick,
We're
you want-
building a water line.
okay.
It's replacing a water line that's on Main Street.
Do we have costs and do we have a cost list?
That project was actually approved by city council here last month, a couple of months back. The engineering's in place. I think the construction cost is right at $2 million.
That item is actually, the answer to that item is actually further down the agenda. I believe it's item 7.5.
Man, I answered my own question. Okay. I just
Actually,
want to
that's a
make sure.
different water line.
That's a different water line. No. Mm-mm.
Oh,
No, the Main Street water line,
thought I was smart.
engineering has already been approved.
okay,
And there's a contract in place with Attico Engineering, and he's working on that right now. To
okay.
design both the
Bless you.
Main Street water line and the Lake Road water line.
So is this going to be on both sides of Main Street? Which
Yes, sir.
side? Both sides?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say, those of you that have been on council, it was only maybe a year or so ago where a young man by the name, I think his name was Ricky.
Rick, that was my student.
Ricky,
Mhm.
a young man died in an auto pedestrian accident on Main Street, a kid. And so this is a big step to make that part of our city safer for those kids walking up and down Main Street. So good job. Good job.
Appreciate it.
I just need lighting.
We're working on it. So the estimated project cost is over $2.3 million. This was part of a grant fund, a grant application that was submitted and successfully granted. Thanks to staff and all the staff that put in the work. And to your point, we're working on making our city safer for everybody.
So there'll be sidewalks on both sides. So this is.
We're working on sidewalks for both sides, correct, Rick?
Yes,
Right.
yeah, this project puts sidewalks on both sides. Yes.
Good deal. Very good. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7.4, resolution number letter R 2022 0102, ratifying work authorization and purchase order issuance to Precision Pump Premium Pump Systems in the amount of $49,956. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, sir. We keep addressing these emergency repairs until we're able to do a full overhaul of our system. This particular one has come to critical point in need of repair. It's a very valuable part of our lift station infrastructure, and we need to move forward. This is an item that we consider critical enough to call it a emergency repair.
Any questions for Mr. Garcia on this item? Hearing none, we'll call for a motion.
So moved.
The second,
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 7.5, resolution number letter R 2022 0103, approving Attico LLC to provide professional engineering services for design, bidding, and construction phase services for FM 1765 new water line construction in the amount of $313,083. We wish. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, sir. So in line with that, along the same idea of us getting additional sidewalks, we're hoping to make pedestrian traffic safer on the TxDOT roadways as well. So we're looking at getting new sidewalks that will go from 45 to Boucher. This water line repair work would fall in line in the same exact jurisdiction where that work would take place. And thus, same as the similar item that we presented to you forward. This item is not the grant authorization yet. With that is imminent, and hopefully we'll receive here soon. But we want to go ahead and proceed that by trying to get a quick step forward as far as getting the engineering done to get that water line work as well, similar to what you did at the last meeting prior to this application that you heard tonight from Main Street.
Go ahead,
For
John.
clarity, the water line work from 45 to Boucher would be on the Lamarque side.
Yes, sir.
Right? Just
Only
making
on our
that
side.
assumption. Because
Only
at
on our-
one,
that's
at
not
one
on
point
both
you
sides of the
mentioned
street.
something about the line of Texas Avenue perhaps being all on in Lamarque.
Still certain jurisdictions as far as what side, how far the jurisdiction goes in certain areas. And once I have some clarity on that,
Okay.
I'll present.
So,
that.
and the sidewalk itself construction, although it's TxDOT, they're only going to be doing the sidewalk on the Lamarque side, not on the Texas City
As
side.
part of our project, it'll only be on the Lamarque side. I don't know, they have another deal imminent with Texas City, and I don't know, I can't speak to that. But I know that for our side, we're looking at getting sidewalks, part of our Safe Routes to School initiative, part of everything that we're trying to do to connect communities, ranging all the way from 45 to Boucher. This particular water line project is part of the impact fees that will go all the way to.
What do you mean ranging from 45 to Boucher?
So on Texas Ave to 45, close to where the Kellys is. So this water line project for the 12-inch water line, they're gonna go from there down to Boucher and then up through to Lake.
So
It's
it's
actually-
going from
it's
Texas
actually-
to Boucher along 45.
The sidewalk project that we have imminent that's coming will be Texas Ave to Boucher.
Okay.
The water line project that we're trying to do for these specific water lines, for these 12-inch water lines, extend a little bit further, which would take us from 45 to Lake down to
Stonewall.
So what's that?
Stonewall.
To Stone.
Okay.
Which is where our tank is. And that's currently on
And a little clarity, the 1765 project is strictly a TxDOT project. I mean, they're actually doing road work on 1765, street work, so it's part of their street work program. I don't have an exact answer about if they're also doing sidewalks on Texas Avenue side. They very well may be. They're at about 50% on their plan design. But unlike the Main Street project, which was actually a submittal from City of Lamarque with TxDOT to put that project in, the 1765 is straight up TxDOT project. We just want to get the water line in. It's a new water line that's not there right now. So it mentions in the agenda about using impact fees. It's that water line was in on the impact fee analysis, the impact fee study. You brought up earlier about West Side development. So this water line is moving water through at 45. We have 3 12-inch mains on the other side of I-45, but we do not have a big pipe on this side of 45 on 1765.
This is the continuation of the one that burst under right there, Kelly's.
Before me?
I think so. It was during-
Yeah, that would have been a
the
small one, not
winter.
have been a big one, but yeah, our big, we've got large water lines on the other side of 45 because they come off of 1764 pump station and then comes off the Kelly water line, the Kirby water line off the Kirby tank actually doesn't cross at 1765. It actually crosses down at Bochet. Where it basically comes across. Okay. So once again, we're trying to get ahead of TxDOT as far as getting water line in before they build a sidewalk so we don't have to tear it up.
Any other questions? We'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
The second,
Second.
any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8, appointments. Appointments, reappointments, or removals of all city boards and commissions. Council, do we have any other appointments tonight?
I have one, Tanya Griffin to the Parks Board.
Tanya Griffin to the Parks Board. Any other nominations? Appointments?
I do get another one, don't I? Supposed to get another one too?
Yeah, did you want to?
Go ahead. Right, let me do Tanya Griffin and Valerie Allen.
Valerie Allen
For
to the
Parks.
Parks Board. Okay.
Mhm.
You guys want me to clarify anything? Okay, so Councilwoman Yancey had two a vacancy and a term that ended on the Parks Board positions, and she is reappointing Miss Tanya Griffin to the Parks Board and now appointing Valerie Allen to the Parks Board.
Right. Tanya Griffin was a mayoral appointment. It was discovered that the mayor's position had 3 appointments, so to even it out, Ms. Yancey gets one of those appointments, i.e. Tanya Griffin.
Something to that effect. There still will be a position on the roster for the mayor to have a third position because that has to be changed by ordinance. But in terms
Gotcha.
of the people, yes.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Any further clarification? All right, we need a second on Kim's nomination.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 9, new business. 91113 Union Street, discussion regarding the settlement of certain liens on 113 Union Street, Lamarque, Texas, 77568. Mr. Garcia.
Certainly, sir. This item was brought a few meetings ago, is tabled for us to work with staff to get further review of everything. There's a extensive staff report that we prepared to show what occurred. Essentially, the person was given 2 different amounts. When they inquired about it, this property was inherited. And essentially, there's a discrepancy roughly of about $1,600 worth of liens that were never, that we cannot find the documentation for. They were filed with the court. However, the documentation that is available was not sufficient. Again, going back to previous staff and previous record keeping methods and whatnot. This property has been in limbo back and forth since at least 2010, according to our data. And we have discussed the item. The wherewithal where we came that is shown in your backup documentation would incur the city recovering more than all of the hard cost minus the amounts in question that were discrepancies. Extensive, I mean, hundreds of pages of backup that we provided that summary page from, and you'll notice in your documentation. I would love to answer any questions that you have on that because there's a lot of. I just want to make sure that we're completely clear as to what all those options incur as to what you decide that you'd like to go forward with. Option 1 that's shown would show if we were to waive 85% of interest in admin. Option 2, which is waiving just 100% outright. Option 3 shows waiving 100% plus 100% of interest and admin fee, not inclusive of what the documentation was that we were not able to find and properly account for. And then what option 4 would be, which would be a difference of waiving 50% of those items in question. So the summary page shows different amounts, and excuse me, it was $1,544 was the amount in question as far as the discrepancies. So you have different options there before you. And we would like direction as to which one we can proceed with. Again, this is recovering all of the hard costs that we have verification for. If you notice, the hard cost would be whatever the lien amount itself was, the filing fee, any title report or legal notification by publication that was incurred. The amounts that would be considered for a waiver would be any admin fee or any part of the interest, in this case, the 10% that's calculated yearly. So this table summarizes that, and in subsequent pages, you can see the amounts in question all the way through with all the backup documentation.
Any questions, council?
Mayor, I'm supportive of this. I would like us at some point to visit a policy with regard to these situations, or so that we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, that we're a responsive city, that's all.
If you remember, Mayor Pro Tem, like if I may, one of the items that we brought to you in draft form at the last meeting was a lien abatement program. And you all gave us the direction to look into that further. And then similar to this table that was brought to you, we would bring you different examples of what that would look like. So we can start addressing some of those situations for people in this case who have removed their property from being a nuisance abatement and are proceeding to do something with the property, whether it's to build on it, sell it, whatever, what have you, but at least that they're in compliance before they would even be considered for that program. Consideration for that program would be a one-time consideration. And if they ever became a nuisance again, then they would obviously waive those opportunities. And so it's clear we are not paying any dollars. Gus, if you could explain the language of how this happens at closing.
Sure. So a lien release would be provided to the title company. The title company would not record that release until it pays the city. It'd be like any other, dealt with as any other lien. So the city would get a check from whatever title company it is.
Questions, council?
So we're looking at deciding the council on an option, right? That's the option.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's the direction. Okay.
And if I may, part of the original amount that was quoted and not what option 4 comes within $4.76 of that original amount. So that's why we recommended option 4 at that point, which is above and beyond what the amount was that we have backup documentation for anyways. So in this case, all hard costs that we know for a fact that we have documentation that was incurred by the city would be recaptured.
It's expected that this land will be improved upon. And
It is
and
expected and apparently
we'll have to
closes
see tax
imminent.
revenue.
Correct. The closing is imminent. Apparently it is waiting on this. And one of the contingencies of that, when we do have an actual policy for this, is that we could set a time limitation as to when that would happen, whether it be, 90 days, 120 days, 180 days, whatever you guys deem that we would like to have to fill those blanks in with.
Very good. If there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion with a what did you call them? Option with the
Whichever
particular option.
you prefer.
Yeah,
One that we are
that's
recommending
the
the
last
staff would be
page.
option 4,
Option 4.
which comes within $4.76 of the original.
These two.
I make
Agreed
a
upon.
motion that we adopt the staff recommended option of option 4.
And option 4, Caesar, for the record and for folks listening, option 4 is what dollar amount?
Option 4 would constitute $17,032.31, sir.
Is there a second for option 4?
Yeah, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item 9.2, boards and commissions, discussion regarding revising ordinance number letter O -2022-0004, establishing a policy for appointments to boards, commissions, and committees of the City of Lamarque Code of Ordinance and providing an effective date. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, sir. This item was brought forward And I want to just commend Councilman Carlson here on this item specifically. It was specific to the fact that we were having trouble with attendance some of the boards, and he had a recommendation that could allow you to speak on that if you'd like.
Yes, sir. It occurred to me when I was here, just on a routine visit to City Hall. Some of our boards are having issues getting attendance, and some of our boards are very critical boards. Like a citizen spoke about today, one gentleman's tried for 3 months to get something resolved. And I think that's due to the fact that we have this ordinance where you only can serve on one board. And at the time, we had sufficient people that were willing to get on or willing to volunteer. But we're at a point now where we don't have that plethora of extra people. And it's hurting the citizens. It's hurting moving the city forward. If someone comes in for 3 months and says, oops, sorry, we can't get a quorum, that's hurting the city. So I wanted to open it back up so we can look at amending it. And there are plenty of people in the city that want to serve on more than one board, and they have the time. So that's why I recommended we talk about this and amend the ordinance to allow those people to serve on more than one board and to move the city forward. Because I really hate telling a resident or hearing that we told a resident, sorry, we can't get the quorum. So.
Michael, just a little history on this, and because I had a role in drafting this, and I think there were actually 3 issues. Number one, there was feedback at this particular time that we prepared this ordinance, dealt with it this way, was that we had individuals, there were the favorite few. We had a bit of favoritism within the community, and we were getting feedback from, I never get to serve. I've tried. I've submitted the applications most of the time, and up to this date, Kieran, you've kind of gotten better on that as you've matured in your position. But we would, even the previous city secretary, we never really saw the applicants that came in, but I'm starting to see them now. Thank you, Kira, for that. So that was one issue. We had the same people on the boards, Park, Keep Lamarck Beautiful, the Parks Board, others, Cemetery Board. How many boards were you on, Dave? You know, that sort of thing. That was one of the issues that arose. That's number one. Number two in this, and I see this highlighted, was the issue of people that did not live in the city, that continued to serve on boards. And we resolved that by saying, look, we welcome the expertise of individuals that either have held past offices here, or have particular expertise, or have ties to the city, have special skills. And but it's perhaps best that the chairpersons of the particular committees identify those individuals, just like they did with Coach Walker, right? In his interest in working with youth and his background. And so we permitted that to happen by this particular ordinance, so that if the chairperson wanted to reappoint and seek that reappointment, then that continues on that side. And then the other thing, we tried to make a bit stronger the attendance requirements, and Dave spoke to that. We're not doing too good of a job there, because I would like to know who's attending these meetings. And if we get a bit of more accountability, I think that we'll be able to say, and I know some people that are my appointments that that I did not appoint, but I've heard that have not been attending, right? But I don't see anything in black and white that I can say, look, you haven't. And also, very, very true what Mr. Pennington was saying. There was into this ordinance, this excused and unexcused criteria, and get the information to either the city secretary or the chairperson of the committee that I will not be there for whatever reason, right? And then that constituted an excused absence. And then the final thing, and this is an area, is that when people want to seek, and we were wanting them to and it's in this language here, we're notified them, and I think you do this, Kira, now, notified them that their original appointment is up. Update your information as well, too, in terms of, that's where we found out people were sometimes no longer living in the city as well. So update your information.
Yes, sir. Now they are required to fill out
Another form and
application, yes.
application
Yes.
and let us know. So I happen to know that there's some individuals that, having now seen some of the forms, that have expressed an interest on serving on boards, and maybe, as opposed to working on taking action on this, might give the process, it's only been basically 2 years, give the process an opportunity to work out if we're implementing the items that are incorporated within the ordinance. Let's get attendance rolls. Let's start orientation sessions. We used to have orientation sessions. I know, Mr. City Manager, we talked about that, right? And the value of volunteerism, the Open Records and the Public Information Act training as well, too. And we've gotten away from that. And Dave, Mr. Pennington, you remember we used to do that as well, bringing everybody together on that side. But the danger, as I said, the danger is that once again, the serving on committees becomes a closed group. That was the big issue there, and that was the feedback that we got there on that side. And outreach, I need to do a better job of keeping at the front of my mind, would you like to serve on committees and get out there? And so that's the background.
No, I mean, I appreciate it. And I agree with the residency requirement. I totally agree with that. If you live in the city, you need to represent your city. So I have no issue with that. But like I said, my fear is the thing that I hate is listening to citizens being told, sorry, this is the 3rd month in a row, we don't have a quorum. I mean, that's a huge black eye to the city. That's not what we're up here for. We're here to help the citizens.
But I think he's right. I was a part of Keep Marque Beautiful when that ordinance came about, because we had people on our board that were not showing up. And so there is a piece that I think we need to keep educating our citizens. I think we need to have more accountability to know, like, why aren't they coming? And we as a council can address that to reappoint or put someone else there. I know some of our meetings are done during the day when people work. This is a working class community. Most of us work jobs from home or work at jobs. And sometimes that's an issue for some of our people. But I think that if we hold our that's why we have alternates on some of our boards too, as well. That I think, but it was like the same people. So I don't think you should be able to serve on more than 2 boards, because you want to keep educating people about being a part of civic society. That's what they teach us in the classroom, is that we're not engaging students enough to understand our government. And the more people you have involved in your government, the more engaged they can be. So I think we do need to kind of know who's not, because none of us really know who's not showing up. But if we could, someone can give us that report to say, hey, this person they weren't able to meet. Can you talk to your person that you appointed to say, hey, is there a reason why you're not able to be there? Because I agree with you, that's not very professional. It's not a professional look when people, we've had people to show up at the building standards meeting and they're ready to present, and we're waiting there 30, 40 minutes to get a quorum. That's not professional at all. Because to serve is a privilege. It's an honor to serve your city. And I think people should take it seriously. But again, I think that's where that orientation, because I didn't have that, because to be honest with you, they kind of taught me on the fly, you know, when I got on Keep It Mark Beautiful.
I know that orientation has come up, I think, a couple of times in this conversation, and I did want to let you guys know we were gonna announce it at the volunteer dinner,
Yeah.
that we were gonna start doing an annual orientation in January after annual appointments end in December. That way we can kind of refresh our current board members as well as get all of those new members at the same time and do them in that one orientation setting.
Right. Because life happens and people get stuck in traffic, and that happens a lot of times too. But I don't think we should have more than one person should not serve on more than two boards in our city. I think.
Well, if we can even amend it to say that,
Okay.
to serve, to be on two. I mean,
more
I'm
than
happy
two.
with that because that way it gives those that still want to
Right.
volunteer an opportunity.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, and I agree with you, the accountability is not being, and that's our fault.
Mhm.
And so at the end of the day,
If
when
we,
you go back to what Michael was saying is our government is not able to move forward because of the lack of participation. That's the issue. Now, there have been things that have been put in place that if they were to be executed by various people, council members, staff members, board
chairman.
members,
Mhm.
in a perfect world, we would be able to get participation from various resources within our community, but the world's not perfect. We're all running around with millions of things to do. And so we might have to add something in. And I would say, Michael, that would be something that if I were you, I would work with Gus on as well as Kiera, and I believe Casey, and was one of the main drivers of this ordinance. So I would definitely ask you to visit with Casey, see if y'all could work something out where there might be a way to amend this and make it better, keeping the spirit of it, right? Keeping the spirit of opportunities to participate for all of our members, but at the same time addressing your issue, which is what happens when we hit a lull or a low? You know, how can we allow our more faithful volunteers to step up in those times? And, you know, there might be a way forward to keep the spirit and make it practical. So I would encourage you to do that and bring that back to the council if you accept the challenge.
I do, and just listening to Miss Yancey, I mean, 2 is a great number. I mean,
She didn't support that.
no, she did not
Yeah,
support
no
more than 2.
No more than two.
And right now, as it reads, it says you can't serve more than one. So, I mean, if that would be a simple amendment,
Yeah.
and it would still allow the flexibility for other people to volunteer and step up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that'd be great because everything else is in the ordinance is solid.
And then what you could do, Councilman, is that those people that we know would show, you can have them down as alternates for some.
Right,
boards
right,
that have
yeah.
problems with making quorum, because let's be honest, it's the same boards.
Mhm.
Well, I guess that's where the difficulty is for me.
Mhm.
We need to let this, we've never properly, as a council, had the reports that are necessary as for us to hold people's feet to the fire. Now, there was one area that we did not visit on this area that but it was reported to us. We have quorum numbers that change by commission. And that was never addressed here. And I wanted to address it, but it was never. Keep Marque Beautiful in our, and had incorporated that is a quorum of 3. Others don't have that. And so you have difficulties in meeting the quorum requirement. And that's something that I'm totally amenable to. And I'll work with Gus and put up the language in here, that might be something that we can take a next step on to see how that impacts action on our committees. Because it may be because, well, I know the Parks Board needs to have a majority of members. I think five, if I'm mistaken, there is a quorum. Plus one, right? But quorum numbers are up to us. We can set up a quorum amount. There's nothing, Robert's Rules of Order even permits that for groups. But Mr. Gus will research that. But that's, in my opinion, that's where we want to start something. Let's start there. Let's
Okay.
get some consistency on quorum numbers
Yeah.
for our commissions.
I'd like
Yeah.
to make a motion that we table this to work on.
Yeah, I think we got a good, is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are now at, actually, let me go back in and reopen that if I can, Gus, for a minute.
Absolutely.
One of the other things as we look at this, and this has nothing to do with Michael, but everything to do with us as a council. Council, we ought to consider, we ought to consider perhaps giving direction to Gus and the city manager for some sort of conduct policy for members of our boards and commissions. There's been a lot of talk about conduct amongst our board members and commission members, but we don't have a policy. And so as far as I know, Kiara, I see you looking up. Is there anything you need to correct about what I'm saying? I'm open to it.
It's not a correction. It is something that city manager and I have been working on for quite a while. We thought it would be ready for you guys to actually look at tonight. We still have some last minute touches to bring back to you guys, hopefully in December.
Okay, I would like to see language that will help our boards and committee members to know how to conduct themselves. They are somewhat public figures. And so we need teeth as a council to be able to hold committee members, board members accountable if the situation arises. At this point, we don't have any. So I wanted to make sure that we added that. Does that, Gus, would that be added to this ordinance?
It could be.
Could be added to this ordinance?
Yeah, we could, Kiara and I can meet with how, and Caesar, with how best we want to present it to y'all. 2 ordinances or 1.
Okay, all right, very good. All right, we are now on item 10, items for the good of the order. And we will start with,
Ladies first.
you want to start with ladies first? Michael said he went first last time.
First of all, happy birthday, Mayor. I know you turned the big 50.
I did.
Happy birthday, happy belated
Thank you,
birthday.
thank you, thank you.
I just want to say, I'm just really excited about the deliverables that we see tonight with the sidewalks that's coming, the playground equipment, and JB, I think that'd be a great thing to kind of talk about, to let our residents know, give them hope about what's coming in the future and what to see. It's all about, this is a season of hope. So, and shout out to Amazon, who has done an amazing job hiring a lot of local people, a lot of local young adults in our area. So shout out to Amazon in District A, leading the way, and for hiring a lot of our kiddos and young adults in the area and teaching them a lot. You know, a lot of those people there are from the Army that work they're retired military. And so they are giving great lessons on logistics over there in Amazon. And I can see some of the repercussions when I see some of my former students and they go, yeah, I work for Amazon. So I just want to their management team, thank you so much for believing in our residents. And I mean what I said about Walmart, making sure that they are hiring our residents, not just for the $7 an hour, but for the $19, $20 an hour jobs as well, because that has been a problem in the past. But hats off to Wednesday, tomorrow, sorry. There's a giveaway from 3 to 6 at Mainland Shopping Center. They're not giving away turkeys, but they are giving away HEB gift cards. Tomorrow from 3 to 6 p.m., they're looking for families to come by. There's a lot of the raffles happening tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, In District A at Abundant Life, they're giving what's called praise and pies out. So if you like pumpkin pies, they're giving pies out after their service. I think their service starts at 7, I believe. So that's for the good of the order. For some events are coming up this week, and I'm looking forward to the Christmas parade. Some of my former students have already got in touch with me. They're getting their floats ready because our principal at Marque High School is so excited about the Christmas parade. So for those of you that want to participate, we're excited about one of our signature events last year, and I'm excited. I'm a Christmas baby. I was born on Christmas, so I like Christmas,
Oh, okay.
right? So I'm excited about this new season. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Yancey.
you.
Michael.
Unless you were in a cave, Thanksgiving's coming up this week, so. I want everyone to be safe, whether you stay home, whether you travel. Don't drink and drive. That's a given. Enjoy your festivities, enjoy time with family. Remember what this holiday is about. It's about giving thanks. There's a lot of people out there that don't have what we have. They don't have a roof over their heads. They don't have the food that we have. So think about them. If you want to open your home up to one of them, those individuals, that's great. There's a lot of military members that don't have homes right now. They're far from their homes, so they're in the barracks. Reach out to the military bases, see if you want to open up your home to them. And trust me, from serving in the military, it's greatly appreciated. Those young soldiers, airmen, sailors, Marines, they love it because they get out of the little 4 walls of their dorm room and they get a nice home cooked meal. And it's not dining facility food. It's actual good food. If you've ever eaten at a military facility, it's not the best. But remember, Wyatt, so give thanks. Open up your doors, open up your hearts. I know people were collecting blankets and sleeping bags for the homeless.
We're still doing that.
So don't forget, we got a lot of people that don't have homes. So if you can give a sleeping bag, give a pillow, do what you can and what you can financially afford. And staff members, thank you for all your hard work. I know I say it every single month, but I know you guys work really hard and I thank you. And please don't let it think you're falling on deaf ears. I appreciate all the work you do. Same with the boards and commissions. So thank you, sir. And city manager, thank you, and your staff.
Thank you.
And have a great Thanksgiving.
Mayor, can I say something real quick? Because one thing that I do think we need to let people know that when we were doing the water rate, because that did not come out in the paper, that we had an ad hoc committee, right? That worked on the water rates. So it was coming. So I need to put that on the record that the residents worked on that before it was brought to us, before it came to the council. So we've been really trying to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. Because a lot of people didn't know that we'd had a committee prior to them coming here. Okay, thanks.
Mayor, first, I want to say thank you for your kind words with regard to the your opening comments as a community working together. Past is behind us. That's how I operate every day. That little part of the Italian in me, we yell and scream at each other, but then we get together around the table and we just eat everything in sight. So that is what we are as a community. Let's get our little screaming out, and but every day let's come together and create a better community, a safer community, and one that is representative of each one of us in terms of our best values. So thanks for your comments there. Along those lines then, as you said, volunteerism is important. It is the soul of every community. We're not Houston. As council members, we're not paid, or Dallas or Fort Worth or other communities, right? I can say personally, I struggle with keeping up with the amount of reading that I like to do or examine new issues and stuff. So volunteerism is a key part of that. As we've said, as a community, perhaps your New Year's resolution is, I'm going to give a little time to the city of Lamarque and reach out to any of us on council. People know they can call me and I pick up my phone and we can talk and we can show you the way. Or if I'm not mistaken, we still have the how to volunteer form for commission and board online as well too. So please do not hesitate to fill that out. And if you think that your interest might be in there are other great groups that need volunteers, especially around this time. The Red Cross, Salvation Army, the Boys and Girls Club, CASA. There are other organizations that also need a bit of your time, and consistent with what COVID has brought us, some of these volunteer opportunities are virtual. You don't necessarily have to go out and into the communities. You can spend some time just on a phone or on a computer as well too. So volunteerism has certainly changed, and we've learned to adjust to that. On the Amazon, at some point, Mr. Mayor and Council, I'd like us to revisit the traffic patterns over there. Councilperson Yancey, my Saltgrass persons are still concerned by the traffic over there. And I will definitely say that the representations that were made that the Amazon traffic would enter through the feeder road is not what's happening. And we know that as well too on that side. So that's an item there. And I just ask and extend everyone good wishes. I was so concerned that perhaps as a community, with some of the divisiveness that was happening, we would find ourselves exploding and somebody would get hurt. I hope that that's past us, because certainly we don't want to open the newspaper and see what has happened to so many communities across this country, most recently in Colorado there, in Colorado Springs. So our prayers are with those families over there, especially during this time period. And my prayers are with each one of you during this Thanksgiving season. Thank you.
Hey, Mayor, I got two LOIs. He triggered something which quickly faded away. So I only have one last one. To all the first responders that have to work on Thanksgiving, thank you. Thank you for the time you're giving away from your families. So I didn't want to miss out on that. So that's the only one I have. Oh, I know what it was now. The volunteerism. City manager, is there, because I'm sure the president still has that volunteer, they have a volunteer program given by the president, and citizens and cities can put in for that. I know you got a long list, but could you add that to your list to check into? Because I think a lot of our volunteer board members may be a nice perk if they put in the hours to get that award. So that was the other thing. Thanks, Joe. You reminded me. Thank you, sir.
Well, I just wanted to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving coming up this week. As we know, we have a lot to be thankful for. Certainly, I pray that you all, as well as my family, would have a safe and happy Thanksgiving season. I wanted to remind us all that Tuesday, December 6th, we will have a Christmas parade. It will go right down Cedar. It will start on Cedar and Westward, travel toward Bayou, take a left on Bayou, and end up at Walter Feigl Park, where we would have our Christmas tree lighting celebration. Other than that, I'm a tad bit tired, so think it's time that we motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Stand adjourned.